small HBCUs matter too.
Let's go!
It's the Division II HBCU Roundup on HBCU Pulse Radio.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? What's going on?
What's up? How you doing?
Man, you got it. You got it. Man, we've been gone for a minute, but we back now.
Yeah, we're here, man.
What's going on, Coach Thomas?
Hey, man, we back like we never left, man. What's happening?
Man, we got my lane guy over there. I know he ready to talk some junk. Always. Get a few more seconds. I was trying to make sure, hopefully we don't have no little mishaps. I tried to make sure I got everything set up before time today. Listen, man, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is the SIAC space where we talk about all things SIAC. We got a lot going on this week. I mean, a lot went on this week in our conference and around HBCU sports in general. And I felt like we need to come back and talk about it. We took a few weeks off, but we're going to really hit 2023. Try to bring y'all some great content, some great shows. Got some other things in the works, so y'all keep riding with us. Round up, Coach Thomas, y'all want to have an opening statement or anything y'all want to?
Well, I want to say first, Happy New Year to everybody. It's been a very interesting week and I think a day in the HBCU world, man. So just super excited just to be here and just talk about our conference, because it feels like our conference is like the only conference outside of the other three that has no drama. Like, it seems like the SWAC has a lot going on, but we just killing. We're just chilling, man. To be honest.
Yeah, what's going on? It's Kelly Flicks, man. Hopped in a little bit late, but definitely. But say my connection's lost. Everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. Yeah. It's always good having this type of conversation, especially on a big week like this. We're looking at Ed Reed getting out of Bethune-Cookman. Then you look at, just looking at comparisons with the SWAC and the SIAC. Morehouse, not even looking for a coach, it seemed like. So it's so much to talk about, man. I can't wait to get into it.
I'm glad I didn't say it. Y'all just called it hate, but thank you for mentioning that.
Man, at this point, Morehouse just staying out the way. We all just chilling, man, because the celebrities are taking over, man. We just chilling.
So let's get into some of the coaching issues. I've been growing more and more impatient with Morehouse by the day, mainly because from the insight that I know, how long that they have gone with knowing that they were possibly making a change, to still be this late in the game. What are we, 9 days away from National Signing Day?
10.
And I've gotten some little inside news that there's a classic that wants them, but they're dragging their feet. The classic, the promoters are kind of like, we're not sure if we want you guys even in the classic without you all having naming a coach. So it's starting to not only just show that they're not interested in a sense about being competitive, that they're really just fumbling the bag over there at Morehouse. Dave, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? How everybody doing?
So here's my thing. The thing that you could do, you can go get Ed Reed if you like.
Yo.
I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding.
We know.
I'm just kidding. I heard you guys it was the only conference without drama, so I was here to get you some drama in your life. But now on a serious note, there's too many coaches that are available right now that are actually looking for a job that can come in there and change the landscape of that team, of that program.
A few of them are listening right now. Yeah. There's a few of us coaches that could probably step in right now and make Morehouse more competitive than they have been in the past few years. But they don't want us.
So I'm going to give you the lowdown on what I know about the Morehouse coaching search. How's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
All right. So they had about 25 to 30 applicants, from what I understand. They just started the finalist interviews last week. They are planning to have a coach in place by the end of this week. That's the plan. I know that Ray Lewis applied. I know that Terrence Mathis applied. I know that Thomas Howard applied. I know that Terrell Owens applied. I also know that they gave the interim coach finalist interview. So they planning on right now. They are planning on naming the coach by the end of the week. Who it's gonna be, I don't know.
So Ray headed to Atlanta.
All I'm going to say is this.
Hold on, guys. Let me finish. But they do not want a celebrity-style head coach. That's what they do not want. This is from the assistant AD. I even had a chance to speak to Campbell, who's the AD, who really needs to be fired. And they need to get somebody else because he kind of dropped the bag. And I also talked to an operations guy, a guy that works in operations in athletics yesterday when I was on campus. So, the team is kind of, from what I understand, the guys on the team, they're looking forward to a new coach. They want a new coach. They really ready to get started to get that nasty taste out of their mouth from last season. They kind of felt that they were misled to think that Freeman was coming back. Apparently, they knew that Freeman was given an ultimatum at the beginning of the year, and he kind of coached towards the ultimatum. So we'll see. That's what I know right now.
At this point, I think Morris Brown going to have a coach before Morehouse.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, with Dr. James down there, they just might. They just might.
Nah,
all I'm going to say is this.
Let's not rush Moby back,
coach. That's all I'm going to say. It should be Thomas Howard. I don't know why they tripping.
That's who I want. He's an alumni. He's been with Coach Washington at A&T for a while. My whole thing was when they decided they wasn't going to bring Freeman back. Apparently it's been conversation all summer. They should have started the vetting process for their next coach right then and now. I don't think they should. Go ahead.
And that's been my problem with Morehouse. Is that component right there? Coaches who had coached under Freeman, whom he was making these last minute effort, this ditch to try to, reach out to some of them, some of the guys that was on some of his winning programs, one in particular. He started telling me way before the season started. They already told him if he go 0-5 again, he's gone. Yeah. So I was really expecting them, they went 0-6 or whatever they were 0-8 before they went 0-9. 0-9, I'm like, okay. They're going to move fast because clearly you guys already know that you're moving on from Freeman, and just to sit there, and I know a couple of coaches reached out to me and they were talking about, they said they might hire one right before February. And I'm saying, wait, right before February, something that you've known. And so that just really bothered me because I stay on this train. This is a hill I'm willing to die on. The conference would be better if Morehouse was better. If Morehouse was a competitive school, the conference itself would be better just because the brand of Morehouse reaches so far. And the fact that they choose to, and I'm saying that choose to because they show a lack of interest, a lack of concern from an administrative standpoint at Morehouse to not be competitive. And there's just no reason that Morehouse cannot at least be competitive in and out of season. It's something that bothers me.
Well, the thing is, man, if they do select Thomas Howard, they could pick up a decent chunk of A&T staff.
They could.
A&T the new coach Vincent Brown only kept 2 assistants.
I didn't think I thought he just kept 1.
No, he kept 2. He kept Mattis and he kept Poole. And he just and there's already talks about the new OC. They're getting the wide receiver coach from Elon, who used to be the OC at Colgate. So the bottom line is there's pretty much an entire staff ready if they pick Thomas Howard, if they're willing to go to Atlanta.
And this is staff that has won somewhere before.
Yeah.
I was trying to hint around the question to the operations guy. I was trying to be like, look, did Coach Washington apply? And he was like, well, I can't disclose who applied or who did apply.
From what I understand with Coach Washington, guys, he's probably going to take a year off.
Okay.
So like he lost his mother during the season.
Yep.
So I mean that it changes your perspective. Everybody I've talked to who lost a parent, particularly their mother, change your perspective a little bit. I mean, he's in his 60s. He doesn't have to do it. So if he wants to do it, he can. He's going to get a nice check from A&T to sit at home for a year.
Yeah. My thing is with Morehouse, and I can wrap Clark in there as well. They should be ultra competitive. You have so many players from the area going out of state, going down to Albany, going to Savannah, the Edward Waters. You should be able to grab 25 to 30 of those players every year. Like I tell anybody, I understand this GPA thing or whatever. But if we in the job of educating black men, and that's what we're supposed to do, wrap our arms around these guys and let's make sure they can be successful. For Clark to be 2-8 and Morehouse to be 1-9, I as a parent, as a follower of HBCU sports, I just can't see it.
Well, I think what that really goes to is a culture, and that's what that new coach has to bring in, and that's why they have to really get this hire right. Because if you have a winning culture, you can develop, you can build winning habits, you create systems that work. And I think that's been the problem with Morehouse these past few years is that I think they don't have an identity as far as like their team, and also there's not a culture in which there are systems that are built that can lead to success.
I definitely understand. Can I ask you a question? Are you from Fayetteville? The civilized choice.
Oh, don't ask that question.
Hold on.
Do you want the long story or the short one?
Give me the short story.
My dad was part of 8 different HBCUs, athletic administration, or some kind of staff. So I've stayed in several different cities. I'm in Snellville right now. I came back down to Georgia to coach myself, and I'm just out for the year.
Okay.
But I'm from Nashville originally.
Are you from Fayetteville is fighting words in my book, but anyway.
Fayetteville ain't that bad. What y'all talking about?
No, I'm asking because I thought I saw somewhere that your father was the SID at Fayetteville State.
Nah, he was the head football coach at Fayetteville State from 80 to 84.
Okay. All right.
I'm the SID. I'm the SID of the family, but I also coached and a couple other things.
Okay. All right.
So we look forward to the possibility of Morehouse finally getting the coach, and whoever it is, I wish them success except for one game because I really want the Tuskegee Morehouse game. Actually 2 games. I'm a little biased. I'm rooting for Clark's side.
I have one question real quick before we move on, D2. So
go ahead.
Morehouse is supposed to be playing in the Black College Hall of Fame game against Union. So has that been called off? Is that still going on, or is there another class you were talking about?
No, the class that I'm talking about is it's another classic that Well, I won't get into that because he asked me not to say it. But anyway, there is a class. It's supposed to be like a in-conference classic that they're having issue with. And I think the Ray Lewis component was a part of the issue, but that's a whole nother story of why they was a little hesitant. But whoever they get, I want them to really change that culture at Morehouse. I remember being, a younger boy going to those Tuskegee Morehouse games and just seeing it packed. When I saw that Morehouse Howard game in New York, to see the Morehouse fans out, I was like, hey, Morehouse they have a base. They have people who like their institution. Even the Howard Morehouse basketball game the other day, I know a few Howard alums that were mad that they had to go get refunds because, they had let some of the students in and they didn't have seats, whatever the case may be. Morehouse can be a shining institution for this conference. And I think all of our conferences, all of our schools can benefit from a stronger Morehouse in the conference. We got Steven in the house, but I also got my boy E3 in here. He was a soldier for Kentucky State. Y'all know I talk about Kentucky State all the time. Kentucky State has been one of those stories that I read. I've read so much about them just because I don't think people knew what they were going through in Frankfort, Kentucky. I was just reading this week where they had 7 janitors trying to maintain 21 buildings. And so they approved that they have to drop a $3 million bag to get that company, Sodexo, whatever the name of the company is, to come in to try to just maintenance. And when I put that out, I instantly got hit up, by the Kentucky State fans, like, oh yeah, hey, the garbage cans were running over. It was horrible. And I'm like, man, what is going on?
I'm glad Rico was there, boy. I'll be on Park Street, man.
So we had trash. So Bethune-Cookman supposedly had trash everywhere, but Kentucky State, they have been going through a lot. And to see those guys stick with that program, still fight week in and week out. If you go back and watch them, they were still really gritty. They were a game away from being in the SIAC championship game. And I think that's commendable for a lot of part-time coaches. I was reading about, coaches that, teach at the high school and the middle school by day, and then they come in and try to coach in the evening time. So, hats off to those guys. So, I've had a few conversations with my guy here. I want to make sure that we kind of monitor it because I know that he is in the portal, make sure that we don't cross the line on anything. But he just wanted to share his experience. So the floor is yours, E3.
Hey, how everybody doing today?
Good, brother.
That's good. I think Kentucky State is a program full of great athletes. I felt like last season it was kind of a mess. We had the same issue Morehouse had, but we didn't end up hiring our coach until August, like the first week of August. A lot of teams started camp already, so we didn't really know who our team was. We didn't know who our coaches was until we got back to campus. And the reason for that was we didn't have the money, and a lot of our problems was because of funds and everything. We didn't have the money to recruit players. We didn't have a head coach to recruit players, so we basically had to work with what we had, and we had a lot of depth issues, a lot of players switching positions, making sacrifices for the team, and for us to still go fight like we did this season, it was great experience this year.
E3, let me ask you a question. What led to your transfer portal? Like, what led to you entering the portal outside of that?
Well, right now we still don't know who our coach is, and this is like my last season, so I'm trying to make the best decision for me in my future.
Understood.
Yeah, like right now, I'm not against coming back or anything. I I just don't know the situation with the coaches, but I also want to make the right decision because right now, I got 1 year left. I don't want to waste my time anywhere. I want to go somewhere that'd be the best situation for me, somewhere that I can win a championship, play with a great team, play with a family, and yeah.
Now let me ask you another question. How much the effect on your team? I mean, you entering the portal, like how big was that for your team? Like, did a lot of players off the team start to enter because you entered?
I wouldn't say that. I believe they all waiting for the same thing. They want to see who we're going to bring in. Like, we still have no idea who our next coach is going to be. So I think with that being said, everybody wants to. We don't want to wait till August and see who our coach is again. We don't want to wait too long. We want to figure out who our team is right now. So I think that's why a lot of other players enter the portal because they don't know the situation.
Okay, so right now, are y'all currently training? Like, so are y'all? I mean, I'm assuming you're still on campus. Are y'all having winter workouts and stuff like that?
Right now, we're still working out on our own. Our athletic trainer haven't got back yet, so we're just working out on our own right now.
Well, let me ask you this. So, from the administrative side, have they communicated with you all at all?
Nah, we haven't had no communication from the administration yet.
That's been one of the things. And so when I go into these alumni groups, I'm actually in one on Facebook, and I've had a couple that what surprises me at a lot of our institutions is how a lot of us do not know what's going on at our schools. The fact that I'm sitting there telling people who say that they love Kentucky State, telling them that y'all do know they were pushing for Kentucky State to close this past summer, right? Y'all do know that that vote was really slim to possibly ending Kentucky State. And it's like, oh no, I didn't know that was going on. Okay, well, you need to set your little Google alerts for Kentucky State, so every time an article comes out, you can see what's going on and get involved. It bothered me when the coaches were saying that y'all didn't even have enough balls to practice with. I was like, my God. I mean, there was one game, I think you all were playing Savannah State, and a player went down, and I was sitting there waiting because I was like, wait, where is the trainers? And then, finally one came, it was one lady came, and then from the other team, their trainers came out. And I said, I know good and well that Kentucky State is not traveling with like this. And it's just one of those things that I meant, I've told you this, I commend y'all, I commend your coaches for speaking it out. And it's one of those things where it's almost like it needs to be called out. I know they're looking for a president. I know that has to be first on the list, but they gotta look out for y'all. And as often as I have to, as often as I can, I'm gonna make noise about them not treating you all with the decency that I feel like that you all should have, and that is. It's unacceptable in my opinion what's going on at Kentucky State. Go ahead, Dave. I see your hand.
Yeah, my thing has always been when it comes to alumni, man, is you gotta try to keep tabs to figure out what's going on and try to push your administration to force them to have either town halls or meetings or something. Give you guys an idea on what's going on. Like, you gotta apply some level of pressure if you haven't heard from them in a while. Because otherwise, if you just stay in the dark and think everything's hunky-dory, by the time you find out something's wrong, it might be too late.
Well, I tell you one thing they did. At least they changed the listing, because when they first listed that job, they were hiring for interim head coaches is what the job listing was. So when I checked the job listing a couple of days ago, they had changed it up. So they even changed the requirements. So it wasn't a copy and paste posted position now. So they are actually looking for a head coach. I was hoping that approval got when they approved them to hire like 30-some positions, because see, right now at Kentucky State, they got a bailout, even though it's money owed, but they're considering a bailout. They have to seek approval from this committee that's set aside to audit Kentucky State. And so every time they hire, they have to go to this committee and say, hey, we need to hire this amount of people. So this committee made this mass, and it was like 30-some people that they were supposed to be able to hire. And I was hoping a football coach would be in that hire, but that remains to be seen right now.
If Kentucky State is in that rough shape, do you think there might be some other things they probably need to hire other than the football coach?
Yeah, that too. And at the same time,
it's the same thing when I'm talking about with Bethune too. Like everybody's like screaming about Ed Reed. I'm like, based on what everything's going on, I think a football coach is minor details right now.
But I also think that they owe it to the student athletes that they had other coaches recruit to come there, that they owe it to them to at least communicate with them, to at least communicate to them. If football right now is the least of their concerns, they need to express that to the players. They need to express that, and so they can make the best decisions for them, because ultimately that's what HBCUs are here to do: educate. Even though Kentucky State has a diverse population up there, but our original missions to educate young African American men and women who couldn't go to other schools originally, and so I think that they have to take that into consideration, because they're actually playing with the lives of these student athletes. So whether or not they want to hire a coach, they need to communicate that. And I just, once again, man, my hat's off to y'all. I see a lot of the other Kentucky State players in. Man, y'all keep y'all heads up. I respect what y'all did this season. That speaks volumes. And so when I saw a couple of y'all that entered the transfer portal, hey, I was retweeting like, hey, I think y'all should look at these guys. I think they've put in the work. They've shown that they could probably go and work in a lot of our systems right now. There's probably a lot of our schools that need some of them. So I just want y'all to keep y'all head up, keep fighting, man. And, anything that I can do to help either one of y'all know how to hit me up.
D2 trying to get y'all down to Tuskegee.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Look, just because you're Division II don't mean you can't get NCAA violations. That ain't the way you're supposed to roll, man. You're supposed to talk about how great the academics are.
And that's what I'm finna talk about. Right? Our new $8 million grant. That for our new science building, our new science and research
do better
that we just got. And what are we ranked number 3 in HBCU now? Yep. We were like ranked like 4 and 5. We're 3. We're 6 overall in the U.S. ranking. We're the listen. We are the best institution academically there is. We also are the best in a few other areas, but hey, Tuskegee is the place to be, where we continue to lift the veil of ignorance. So choose Tuskegee.
Fellas, since y'all here, man, I might as well go ahead and put this out there. There's a few schools in Columbia, South Carolina. I see Allen University head coach just jumped in. Maybe y'all need to tap into that. E3, I know you in the transfer portal. I know you could be used. So definitely take a look at those 2 programs in Columbia, South Carolina.
I'm from Columbia, so I got a little bit of heart down at Allen University and Benedict College, so I'm from down there. So
major shout out to Coach Keaton, man, and his Allen, man. I tell you, I saw them for the first time this particular season when they came to Montgomery. A hard-fought game. I instantly became a fan of David Wright, and I'm going to continue to be a fan of David Wright. Allen is one of the few teams that don't mind throwing the ball, and in a conference where we run the ball a lot. It was a welcome change. So glad to see you. If you want to come up and say anything, Coach Keaton, the floor will always be yours. And any other SIAC coach or player, you guys are always welcome to come up and just talk about where you are and where you see your program going in the future.
I want to say, hey, listen, shout out to Allen University because y'all gave Fort Valley Game of the Year status because y'all had me scared that Fort Valley game, man. I was scared as I don't know what. I'm like, man, championship dreams ruined. We pulled it out. So y'all got my respect, man. And Allen's going to be going a lot of great places soon.
Yeah, Coach Keaton got a arena football background, man. Talk about that, Coach.
Thank you guys for having me on here. And I just want to say about the state of the SIAC, man. We're very competitive. I like the coaches that we have in here. I mean, I think we have a lot of great defensive-minded coaches. Shout out to Cheney Sperry and the job that he done with Benedict College right across the street. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the things that he's brought to the table and to the conference. I think Reginald Ruffin did a really good job with Tuskegee, and I think Aaron James is going to follow that success with Tuskegee. I had the opportunity to work with those guys at Miles, and I'm excited about the competition level. I think Fort Valley did a really good job. Coach Gibbs did a good job with his guys. They were prepared. They played well. They were 1 or 2 plays away from being in a championship. I'm just excited about the whole future of the SIAC. We have a new commissioner, and I think he has a great vision about where we're trying to go. I kind of like the new setup of the schedules. I don't know if it's going to fit everybody's liking, but I think it's a great opportunity for everybody. And I thank you guys for supporting us at Allen University. We played our 4th season. I believe we were the best 1-9 team in the country, and I think we'll continue to strive in the way we need to do to get better every day.
Definitely, Coach. Definitely that record was not reflective of the fight and the preparation that I saw with your team. I remember, I think when y'all had lost, I think like the 4th game, and you tweeted, I was like, nah, I gotta let them know, hey, you guys, I meant in Montgomery, I meant y'all right. I mean, y'all, man, y'all put up. It was your team week in and week out. The way that you prepared those guys to not give up. I meant, because I'm just thinking, all right, we should get through this one. Y'all came ready to play. I was impressed with the band. Of course, we love Jasher at Tuskegee for what he did with the program. And so I just really enjoyed seeing your team. Now, wait, I got to stop for a second because my guy, my new head coach, Aaron James of the Tuskegee University, the best HBCU football program there is. And I know y'all might have, something to say about that, but this space, Tuskegee is the best HBCU football program there is, and is now being led by none other than legendary quarterback Aaron James, and we appreciate you for coming in. And if you have anything you want to say, you want to come up and just introduce yourself to the space, by all means, my brother, you can come up and do that.
Winningness is a fact, and you are not entitled to your own facts. The opinion.
We were looking back over that Winston-Salem record. I was on a podcast of that Winston-Salem record. And the only thing that I can say is, y'all got us when we were down, but put us on the schedule. Run it now.
I mean, y'all lost to Winston when Winston won like 3 games in one of the bad years.
Y'all came there, but listen, we was on the down, a little down spot.
You wasn't no more down. You wasn't no more down than Winston was. But
put us on the schedule again. We owe y'all. We owe y'all.
Hey, I got a question for Coach.
One thing I would like to see, Coach Thomas. One thing I would like to see, I would love to see more CIAA and SIAC football games. I think I've said it before. Let's just take that first week and let's just play each other. And let's just do it. Let's just take that first week. Let's just go play each other. The CIAA is getting ready to be 13 teams. The SIAC is 12. Let's just do it and just call it a conference classic. Let's do it.
Well, hey, real quick, to be fair, Morehouse versus Union going down week one.
Well,
So I mean, you got to
yeah,
win.
yeah, I'll be there for that one. I know Coach Parker, and I know a couple of the Union players is from my hometown, so I know they're going to be excited. My son, who plays at Morehouse, played against them in high school. Some of them played middle school ball together in North Carolina. So they're going to be very excited to see one another on that football field. I think Union got that awesome little running back. I'm talking about he's awesome. So it's going to be, it's going to be a challenge for the house to slow him down. Nobody could slow him down last year. I know Union also returns a lot. Morehouse is going to return some players too, but it's just going to depend on, like everybody say, what the coaching situation going to look like. Can he get the best out of them? Morehouse, the starting quarterback, who ended up starting as a true freshman for most of the year last year, to his knee against Clark at the end of the year. But he's already had surgery. I saw him yesterday at the basketball game since Morehouse and Clark played each other. I went down and checked it out just to see if I could get some information on this coaching search. But, they're excited to play Union, and I'm sure Dr. Parker and his crew's going to be excited to play Morehouse up at the Hall of Fame.
Hey, I got a question for Coach Keaton real quick, fellas. Number one, I know you had some injuries this season. What effects you think that had on your team, Coach?
Anytime you lose a quarterback, especially one as prolific as David Wright is, that becomes an issue for anybody. My backup quarterback came in and did a really, really good job. I lost a few D linemen. But I think my guy at HBCU, the host of this, he said it best in a tweet a few weeks ago. If we can take just a small step forward on the O-line, I think we have all the skill guys. I think we have everything that can happen. And I think that all going to start this offseason. We've already kicked that off really well, and we had to fix some areas in our secondary. Our secondary, we gave up more points than we scored. We were scoring like 42, 35. We was putting up numbers. But we were also giving up numbers, and that was due to lack of experience in the secondary. So hopefully either those guys going to have to get better back there, or we're going to replace them, and that's what my class is totally heavy, consistent of secondary players.
Absolutely. Just going back, just watching some of the games, and just looking at it when I made that tweet. I think that was my first hot take. I said that was my first hot take of 2023 to Allen. And, it's just like what you said. From what I see, like I meant talented. David Wright, that was my first tweet. He's as advertised. So I really look forward to seeing you guys this season. I think that SIAC East, even though we don't have divisions anymore, but it's going to take me a minute to get out of that. But that SIAC, the old SIAC East, to me looks like it's going to be gearing up for a battle, which is a great way to segue into some news that came out this week. I think most of us was kind of looking at maybe penciling in Benedict again. I had a few concerns about them, from the offensive line side, but I guess I didn't read the room correctly when I saw that Eric Phoenix had entered the transfer portal. I said, dog. It was we actually had a couple of big names in the conference that went into the portal, but best of luck to Eric Phoenix. He did a wonderful job while he was at Benedict. He's historic. He's going to be in their history books. And so let's just kind of talk about that portal. And I know Ike Brown, the running back from Lane, entered the portal. It was one more that entered the portal that I can't think his name right now, but he was from Albany State, and he's already committed to the University of Louisiana Monroe. So just if anybody have any like comments or takes on the portal, the portal giveth and it takes away.
Yeah, the portal is one of them things, man. Even at the high school level, it's one of them things that, it can really affect the ball club, in the off season. You got a quarterback, you got linemen, every day, these kids are looking for different opportunities. And, for some, the portal definitely going to provide that. But for some kids get lost in the portal. They don't ever make it out. I think that, if Benedict loses Phoenix, man, it's definitely going to be tough. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really, too sure what they have in the quarterback room, but I definitely know losing him, it could also affect the team again in a way, where other kids might say, man, look, I'm going to go test the portal out too. If our leader, jump in there, other kids might want to jump in. So, that's the effect of the portal, though.
I'm gonna speak up and say what I feel about the portal. I think a lot of kids don't understand. First of all, it hurts high school kids tremendously. I think the portal helps a quarterback. I think it was originally designed for a quarterback, if he comes and he's playing behind David Wright and he's a true freshman, the other guy's a true freshman, and he may not get a chance to play. Maybe he gets an opportunity to take his talent somewhere else. I think a lot of kids do it for attention. I think they don't do it for the right reasons, because there's no way, if I'm a starter at a great Division II team and I was able to lead that team and do the things I needed to do with that team, why would I go from number 1 to number 117? All I see now is there's a lot of opportunities, and I said this before on another podcast. I still believe in the high school kid. There's a lot of kids that need to be developed. There's a lot of kids that's out there that's talented, and there's a lot of kids that are maybe 1AA caliber kids that now will be sitting there waiting on an opportunity. I'm sure for us D2s that if we search hard enough, we can get some kids that we can steal from other programs in high school that will come in and do a great job for us.
One thing with some of the transfers that I wonder is sort of the intent behind them. Like, is it possible that maybe for some of them, they succeeded, like Aaron Thinks, for example. He succeeded at a D2 level, and I know that Wingate offered him, but maybe he tries to go D1 and tries to, maybe increase draft stock or something like that. I mean, I don't know, but I just wonder, like, sometimes, especially when you're at the pinnacle of D2, why you would transfer. That's just the thing that I sort of wonder.
Well, Randall, do your homework.
Yeah, I think, not to cut you off, I think sometime, the kid might be graduating and he wants to go to grad school, and Benedict might not have his major for grad school. Sure. You know what I mean? I don't know why the kid left. The kid is a hell of a player. I really like his game, but I'm sure that him and his family, they're making the best decision for them. But like I said, he might want to get a grad degree in something else, especially with the extra year that the NCAA has gave kids, and some kids redshirting and still graduating in 4 years. So if he redshirted his first year, he was at Benedict for his the COVID year. He's gonna have 2 years of eligibility left, so he can go get a grad degree on somebody else, on somebody else's dime. So every situation is gonna be different. I don't think that he's a kid. You got to look at it like this. He's a 2-year starter. He might have been a 3-year starter. So he pretty much accomplished everything that he needs to accomplish at Benedict, and now he want to try his hands at a higher level of ball. You got to respect that, especially if he's going into grad school and they don't have what he wants to major in for a master's degree.
And shout out to his dad. His dad is always in these spaces, and he's always supporting. So shout out to him. And like y'all said, Phoenix has done a great job for Benedict. I mean, if you ask me at the beginning of the year that I see Benedict going undefeated, it was definitely not in my bingo cards. Even though I did see their elevation. People say this overnight, but if you go back to the first season, no, they had put some things into place, and they were trending upward. He got hurt that first season, and you kind of see that drop off. But I took note when they went down to Miles and beat Miles that first year down there, and I took note of that then, because Coach Ruffin, it's not an easy win to go down there and beat Miles in Birmingham under Ruffin.
Yeah, and and I know that Benedict, their backup this year, was a transfer from Southern that came with Coach Berry, but they had a freshman kid that backed up Phoenix, not this past year, but last year that was pretty good. He went down to beat Miles down in Birmingham. The freshman kid out, I think his last name was Foster, Xavier Foster or something like that. So they got some pieces, but like I said, we just don't know why the kid transferred. I'm not going to knock the kid for transferring, for trying his hand against Division One or even FCS. If he get an FCS offer, hey, I'm going to be there to support him still, because I want for him to do well as well. You know what I mean?
I think, like you said, though, it could be definitely something you want to study. But what Benedict don't got, Morehouse probably does. I'm gonna say
well,
this.
Morehouse don't got a grad school, Morehouse going to end up losing about 15 to 20 players this year because they don't have grad school.
I'm gonna say this. I think that again, when you try to portal out, it could be a good thing and a bad thing. I think the bad, is you could end up going somewhere where you have to compete for a spot. And it may not work out for you. You leave an institution where you the guy, and it definitely could be. It could definitely be bad for you if you don't play your cards right with the portal.
Yeah, and I'll say this about the portal. It definitely is about timing. A lot of times guys hop into the portal right after the season. Seeing a guy like Eric Phoenix, as great as he's been at Benedict, hop into the portal, and this part of the offseason where you got National Signing Day in about 11 days, 10 days, is a little bit odd. You know what I mean? It's something to look after, but I'll say I think this is definitely a kind of isolated thing where this is a little bit about Eric Phoenix and what he wants to do. I don't necessarily feel like Chennis Berry might be on the move or anything like that. I definitely feel like this is a decision that Eric Phoenix made for his future as a quarterback. And, you look at just other guys in the Division II spectrum, like guys like Deion Galat, you know what I mean? A guy that transfers from Morgan State, goes over to Bowie State and plays exceptionally well. He even got an invite to the HBCU Legacy Bowl. So I definitely think he may just be looking for other opportunities, and maybe Benedict is still an option for him.
Yeah, the Legacy Bowl is something that needs to be spotlighted a lot. I think it don't get enough attention. It's definitely, I think, a great opportunity for all our players, especially the ones that are playing hard and, standing out on that field. As I know from last season, I know that they had, college coaches. I mean, not college coaches, NFL scouts, at the practices and stuff. So I think that's something that we really need to do a better job of spotlighting for our players, so they know that opportunity still stands. If they play well enough, they can get that opportunity to actually go out and compete during the week, in front of pro scouts.
Most definitely. The transfer portal gives and it takes us away. We see Albany State get a few guys in through the portal. They picked up the Navy transfer, Isaiah Knowles is his name, I believe.
Yeah, the QB.
Yeah.
The QB.
So I hate that I didn't catch. They sent me the link, but I missed it. He actually did like a little Q&A with the Albany alumni, and I really wanted to hear him talk, because I was kind of curious as to like what would his philosophy be coming in offensively, going back to his time at Florida A&M, and just wondering what was he going to bring to Albany State. So I'm still waiting to get that, and talk to him. I might request just to have a little chit chat with him, just to see. I think I said Albany State that is a little bit more efficient at throwing the ball down the field kind of concerns me, especially if they're able to keep that running game as consistent as they have been over the years.
Yeah. Albany State gonna throw the ball with Quinn and Gray. They're gonna throw it all around. They're gonna throw it all around the field, but they're gonna run it too. They're just not gonna be run dominant as they have been in the past. But they're gonna throw it. I also saw that he signed, or he got a 3-star running back that committed as well. So he's loading up.
Definitely. I'm impressed by the defensive end that they signed out of Jacksonville, Florida as well.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of his stuff. I said, okay, yeah. He came in, he's hitting the ground running. I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna say he's in a perfect place for him to start his coaching career. At the D2 level at Albany State, because they have the situation where if you live in a state that touches Georgia, you can get that in-state tuition. Of course, he's right there. He's from right there in Florida. He was coaching high school ball not too long ago, so he's got contacts in Florida. So look, that looks like a problem for the rest of the SIAC potentially. Who he is, his pedigree, his connections, and then again having that ability to get those guys from the neighboring states on in-state tuition, man, that could be really good. Obviously he's got to come in and he's never been a head coach, but he has he has coaching experience at FAMU. He was an assistant there. And then he was at Alcorn for a minute, did the high school thing, and then, an analyst at Memphis. So, definitely gonna be watching to see what he does. I mean, honestly, I feel like right now he's probably in a better position than, the head coach at UAPB. You know what I mean? Or some D1 schools, just because, again, a guy like him and that will have some success. It wouldn't take long before the other folks come knocking too. So.
And shout out to Albany State and how they conducted that search. And just some of the sidebar conversation with the AD, he was like 2.5 weeks. That was one of his things. And the fact that they did these like weekly conference calls with their alumni, their givers and their RAM Foundation, they just kind of kept their fan base, in tune to what was going on. And so I think it was cool to watch them move with that, and to get somebody that, as we can see, they came in. You didn't see a bunch of guys head to the portal with him. So hey, Albany State may just still be in the conversation, in year one of the Quentin Gray era. And also want to shout out the president of Edward Waters University. Good to see you in here, Doctor.
Well, I want to say this real quick. Did Albany State, I'm saying this as a Port Valley guy, I like to be, neutral and everything, but, we have that association with Albany State. Like, did they ever really leave the conversation? I mean, because, for 23 years, they've always been in the conversation. Except maybe 1 or 2 years, like the mid-2010s. They've always sort of been in the conversation. And I think they're going to be, really good this year, as normal, because it just seems to be just in the institution's DNA that they're good at football. We look at these past 23 years, especially, even the 1990s as well, they just know how to win somehow,
I think, too, you look at Albany State was like the anti-Savannah State as far as being, you remember this time last year, Savannah State, still, according to their timeline, they had barely sent out, the application.
Right.
Big kudos to A.D. Duckworth and his guys for being on it, being quick and efficient. A lot of our schools can learn a lot from that.
Definitely. And they hadn't lost the out of the conversation. I think for a minute, their failure to you look at what Coach Ruffin was able to do in the SIAC championship game, it was like for a minute, okay, the SIAC East was considered weak because when you had Tuskegee and Miles over there, battling out in the West, it was almost like if Miles made it, they were going to be Albany State. If we made it, we were going to be Albany State in the championship game. And so when you see it took Coach Gabe a minute to get over the hump and win, that SIAC championship game. Not last season, year before last. In
2020.
He finally got over that Miles hump. And prior to that, when even when White was at Albany State, there was a Slater hump. When Cummings was at Tuskegee, there was a White hump where we couldn't get over the hump. But being there, always in the conversation, I think with the rise of Benedict and, like we talked earlier about Edward Waters and Allen, I think the SIAC East is open. There is a opening. It's almost how I felt the SIAC West this particular season was open. And I still got to get away from that divisional talk because we're no longer in divisions, but it is. I think Albany State now, after seeing the guys he's bringing in, you're right. I don't think they're going to be out of this conversation at all. We'll still be talking about the Rams later on in the season.
What's your way too early top 5, D2?
Now you're trying to get me in some trouble, dog.
hey,
Coach Thomas always on it, though.
Trouble.
Coach Thomas be on it. He be on it now.
Hey, I tell you what. I'll give you an answer.
I tell you what, Coach Thomas. Before we close this out, I'm gonna give you my my top 5.
Let me ask you guys this: what y'all think about the new scheduling, the 4-4-2?
Well, for me, one thing, because I heard Dr. Holloman, he talked about it in the Fort Valley Benedict game. And that's when he first had brought it up and said that they were looking to move to that. I was bullish on it because I look at divisions as every game in the division matters. But even in the NFL, with the Buccaneers making the playoffs, I see how divisions can be a little bit trash. So I actually like this new format, and I'm interested to see what it can be, and also seeing the top 2 teams make it and see really good matchups. Because if it was that way this year, we most likely would have seen Fort Valley Benedict as a rematch. So I'm really interested to see what we can get from these matchups, and I still think every game has importance. So we just got to see. But I think change is good at certain points. I think it's a good change.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. One thing is now all your member schools got to play each other. You won't go 3-4 years where a kid be like, well, we never played Kentucky State, or we never played Lane, or we only played Miles one time. So I think it's good that they got your 4 base schools that you're gonna play every year, and then you're gonna play the other 8 schools over the 2 years. So I definitely think that's a good idea.
I'll tell you this, man. A&T's in the CAA, and next year they're going to have
most definitely, especially
teams,
when you look at the fact that Benedict hadn't played Tuskegee in years up until the SIAC championship.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, because I got cut off. The power format is the best way, but the thing about it is that, if the players don't stay for the whole 4 years, you're not going to get to see everybody. Ain't going to get to play everybody.
True.
Yeah.
For the CAA, there's 15 teams starting next season. So we have there's 2 teams that we play every single year, and then there's and the other 6 games are pretty much mixed up for the other conference games. But it's set up so you get to go every place within I think a 4-year period, I believe, 4 or 6-year period or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, not to get on the A&T bandwagon, Dave. I think that's you, Dave. So what do you think about, and not to change this subject, what do you think about A&T and the CAA?
I think the focus is always on football, and there's a legitimate concern about being worried about them being able to compete.
Okay.
But I know the chancellor has no interest in being the doormat of anybody's conference, so he's going to put the investments in.
They got a new head coach who has experience in that conference. He's assured them that they're going to put the proper resources there. The men's basketball team right now is on an interim coach. They're 5-4 in the conference with an interim head coach. And the women's basketball team is 7-1 in first place in the CAA right now. Track team is slated to win the conference. The indoor track team is slated to win the conference. So I think we're sitting in a good spot. I think for next season, I just hope that the fan base has some level of patience. I could see worst case 5 wins, best case 8, but it all depends on how the coaching staff gets hired and who they bring in and things of that sort.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like I said, I know that CAA is a beast in football, So, but I'm just wondering what some other Aggies think about that move. Both of my uncles are Aggies, so that's why I was asking. Talking to them, they hate it. But I just wanted to get a outside view. They hate it.
It's split, bro. It's pretty split. There's some folks that are cool with it, and there's some folks that are not. But then when you ask some of the folks why they hate it, the first thing they say is, well, we don't get to play our MEAC rivals. But then the reality is we play North Carolina Central still.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? GHOE is going to be GHOE. It's going to sell out every year like it always does.
Nowadays, I'm going to have to push this A&T talk out because there was a big argument. There was a big argument about homecoming between the Tuskegee student base and the A&T base. And I don't know why A&T would think that they would want smoke with Tuskegee, but we are not the ones to have the smoke.
Have you come to Greensboro, sir?
So I just it's just
have
not
you come to Greensboro, sir?
It's just not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. So we gonna leave. We gonna push A&T to the side.
It's a D2. It's SIAC base. So I respect it.
We gonna put A&T to the side because
hey D2, that's my bad for even bringing it up. That's my bad for even bringing it up.
And you see how you threw it in there
because you guys are too much of us is doing that.
Y'all see how you threw that homecoming in there? When nobody talking about homecoming, we just asked him if he liked to see it.
I'll put it to you in the preface like this. The big thing about us moving out of the MEAC was, your attendance is going to drop like a rock.
It's not.
It hasn't.
It's not.
I think that was HBCU game they showed the students going into, and they was like, because they were saying people were saying that students weren't going to go to the CAA basketball games, and he showed the lines.
That was me. It was Greek night. I was going to be nice to the Aggies, once a month and make this go.
Okay. Yeah, he's only nice to us once a month, so
Hilarious.
But it was a good night. That was a really good night. So,
but I gotta say this just to be objective. If any school has like really a claim to challenge GHOE, honestly, I would say Tuskegee. Just as an objective watcher.
Well, first off, not a claim to challenge. Okay, it's not a challenge when we're on the throne. Now, it's not a challenge when we're on the throne. They're the ones that want to challenge. No, it's not a challenge now.
Look. Let's just agree and say everybody had great homecomings and everybody had a good time. Let's just do that.
I can't say everybody now.
But look, I do want
homecoming is your homecoming. I will say that, but anyway, and I will step out.
But I want to ask y'all guys another question. Did y'all watch the Morehouse Howard game on Monday?
I watched as much as I could because I was trying to watch Tom Brady's final game in the NFL, maybe.
Man said Tom Brady's final game. You don't think he's going to come back, man? You're going to try to drag his 46-year-old behind back to some team that's loaded?
He's going to play until he's like 60. Then he's going to start being a commentator for Fox. So, no, I was just being facetious.
But, I watched the game. My son has a friend who plays basketball on the women's team at Howard, and I was like, Howard they always trying to bring that smoke, talking about their attendance, and I just went and looked at the attendance for every game before the Morehouse game. They was averaging like 1,000 fans. I was like, this is Howard, but it was just something that I was just thinking about. I was just like, wow. I know they played Morgan on Saturday, and they had yesterday, and they had a sellout crowd. So, you know,
Well, the Morgan game was a big game.
yeah,
Morgan
you know,
was
this is their
undefeated.
rival.
Morgan was depends on who you
Yeah,
ask
they
on
saying
that.
their rivals. Yeah,
Mr. Gay throws me a chart. We got to get this chart going, bro.
Who their rival, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, I asked the basketball coach in Morgan about playing, they played Compton, and I was like, you got another, rivalry type game coming up with Howard. He's like, yo, you trying to give us more rivals. I ain't know this rivalry. This is another rivalry. He had like, he's mad that I made a suggestion. I'm like, hey, whatever. Hey, it's your game. It's your world, squirrel. But,
what's your world, squirrel?
It's just interesting, again, who people consider to be their rivals or not, because, at WSSU, we kind of had this thing where, we talk about who are rivals all the time, or we feel like everybody in the CIAA South is our rival.
Yeah,
and everybody, and that's how we feel, and so it's interesting. But yeah,
Well, the discussion of the rival came up when A&T left, and I said there's only pretty much from a MEAC standpoint there were pretty much two. It was A&T and Central, then Winston, but that was it. That's the list.
Well, I saw that journalist off script talk about, he was talking about the Howard game against Morgan, and he was like, "Yeah, let's look live. I need to get up there." And I actually told him, I said, if you think that's loud, you need to go and see Winston play whoever at home.
We ain't got nothing going on down here, man. We ain't got nothing going on down in Winston. We
Steve, I'm gonna say all guys, so I know.
Oh.
Yeah, we just gonna keep that a secret. We ain't got nothing going on in Winston.
He don't want none of your outsiders coming up to his town, man.
Hey, look, I told him. I said, you need to go to a Winston game, or I said, you need to go see Union and V State play at Barco. If you want to see live, go there.
But I have to ask this question, and I think Steven and D2 can give me more context here. Does it matter what people think about who's a rival when historically there's a rivalry? Like for example, D2 brought this up about maybe wanting to see Tuskegee versus Grambling matchup because of the history of Grambling and Tuskegee and Booker T. Washington. People might be like, that's not a rivalry. They're in two different conferences. But it's history there, so it's a rivalry. Same thing with a Tuskegee versus a Hampton. You know what I'm saying? So like, does it really matter that like Howard doesn't think that Morgan State is their rival when history says otherwise? Does it really matter?
Well, the thing about rivals that I've been able to deduct over the last decade or so is you got different types of rivals. You got a historic rival that it's just, you guys are tied together through some type of history where you might have had a long rivalry at one time. Like at Winston, so basketball wise, for sure. And then eventually football, but like A&T was our rival because the coaches because Big House Gaines and Coach Cal Irvin, they both went to school at Morgan State together, and then they were both coaching in the CIAA together, and they both had really good basketball programs, right? So they were both in the CIAA for a long time, and then even after they made the MEAC, every year we would play them in basketball and football. Football, they were whooping our behinds, but hey, we were teacher school. It is what it was. Basketball, it's a little bit different. So, so that's like a historic rival. And then you got a rival that you're like, in some of the historic rivalries in HBCU sports are really gone now are really diminished because of divisions, NCAA divisions. Like you talk about Hampton and Tuskegee, like, they used to play each other quite a bit, I think, when both were D2 schools, but now they don't, before this last year, they weren't really playing each other. Then you got like stuff that's like an institutional rival, like I would guess you would say like Morehouse and Howard. You know what I mean? Like they're like an institutional rival. It's really more so academic and just the entire school thing, more so than the athletic field. And then you got your rivals that you play all the time. So, for us, like we don't play for Winston, we don't play A&T or Central in basketball or football. We will play them in football in 2024. So, it depends. Like if you ask a kid now, they wouldn't tell you that Winston and A&T were rivals. But like when I was in school, we were doing the MEAC thing. So we would say that I look at A&T as a rival. You know what I mean? Because I think it's also because of the time frame that we were there. So, it's interesting. And, Howard and Morgan is the same situation. I think in the Howard and Morgan, you kind of get into a little bit of that public versus private, like, We're too good to actually be your rival, which makes the other team, like the underdog team, like, oh, well, y'all think y'all too good for us. We're going to show y'all on the field or on the court. Same thing with Hampton and Norfolk State, so.
True.
So like,
But then, and then the proximity matters too, right?
Yeah.
That's a big deal too.
Yeah. It took me a minute to embrace when people start saying Miles was our rival.
Right.
Like, he's talking about, in my mind, it's the same fault. He was the doormat of the conference. What are you talking about? Miles is our rival. But there are certain circumstances that creates rivalry.
Right.
Not only people attribute it to just Ruffin going to Miles, but it was also that Miles took our basketball coach when he ran into some issues with our AD. So Miles not only had Ruffin, they had our coach Douglas, I believe was his name, the coach that took us to the Elite Eight in the NCAA Division II basketball tournament. So for them to get our winning coach, it was just, it created a rivalry, and it has lasted, even now that Ruffin is back at Tuskegee, that added more fuel to the fire in that. And so I was wondering, how would that rivalry be this particular year? And I'm telling you, Miles wanted that game bad this season. In basketball, we're proven to, like, even though there are different coaches there now, that it's there. And so I think for the current students, in the, I guess as they call it, the new Tuskegee, they will see Miles as a rivalry going forward. For me, not so much. I just know that we need to return this conference back to the way that it's supposed to be, and beat Miles every time we and beat Miles. But you've seen like traditional rivalries like the Morehouse game. You see it kind of fizz away. You know what I'm saying? Even the Alabama State game. So we're back in the Turkey Day Classic. When they moved the Alabama State game to the Labor Day Classic, I thought it rejuvenated the rivalry. A lot of people look at 2012 and say, well, you're wrong, D2, like that rivalry was still there. I'm like, no, that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That was Alabama State bringing Tuskegee in their brand new stadium. And we had an opportunity to beat them in their brand new stadium, while they call our stadium a shack. And we came in from our shack and we whooped them in 2012. But if you go back to the years prior to that, you'll see that matchup had kind of it dwindled. And I think our schools also have to be open to the idea and the fact that rivalries do change. Things great. So when the students came, it was their first time that both student bodies were able to be a part of that rivalry. When it was Labor Day Classic, the Tuskegee students, the Alabama State students, and I think it rejuvenated it in such a way that we should have never gone back. But I understand, hey, money talks, and sometimes it is what's needed. So we're back in that because of money. I don't personally think that it's going to do well, just because of the changing landscape, and that's something we don't talk about enough. The changing landscape in our rural schools. The exodus of Black people from Tuskegee, I talk about this 10% decline that we're seeing per year in Tuskegee. So you start looking at where are our alumni bases located, where our alumni base, and how people travel during Thanksgiving, and how they view holidays now. So I think all that plays a role in it. And so you'll see some of these older rivalries die out. And you see these newer rivalries, because that Miles and Tuskegee game is big. I hope that Clark is still on our schedule. There is no reason that we do not see Slater have to bring the Panthers back to Tuskegee this particular year. I mean, it's a game that went into triple overtime. It is a instant classic because people want to see it. It's the same way I felt when Cummings went to Jackson State. We shouldn't have waited 5 years to after they got rid of him to see it. People want to know, was Slater a better coach than Cummings? They wanted to see the matchup. It is a matchup that we missed out because certain things happen that we can capitalize on, and though they may not be traditional rivals, but there is marketability there, and there is profitability there.
There's a bunch of it, and that's why I don't understand in sports in general why people are so upset. We'll say, for example, in basketball, the Warriors and the Grizzlies are a rivalry. And it's like they only played in the playoffs one time, but it's like, do you see the energy? Like they need to play on Christmas. They need to play on Rivals Week as NBA is doing. So I'm like if it's Tuskegee and Miles, and then we can, get some steam around that and build the confidence, talk about the history, or Clark Atlanta and Tuskegee, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like rivalries bring stakes, and stakes bring people. Where we're like, hey, this game is important. Let's go. You know what I mean?
When you gotta. And that's it's always, and I got a unique perspective about it because of the conference that my school's in, but because everybody's like, well, what about our rivalries? And I'm like, all right, so if you look at the attendance numbers, we only go to 2 games, and one of the games the opponent doesn't matter. So it's like, so from my perspective, I'm like, all right, as long as we make sure we book this game, we're good. And then if you create something with the close proximity institutions, like Elon's literally up the street, Campbell's not that far away, and so you create some level of rivalry. But from an HBCU standpoint, you want to try to create those type of matchups to have that type of continuity if you can. But I know the concern is always about because the format's changing in the conference. But you would hope that the SIAC is smart enough to know to keep certain games intact, unless they decide to make it geographically based only. Then some things might go away, right? Because some folks within the CAA conference weren't happy because some of the rivalries kind of went away because it was based on geographics on the teams that were part of the pods. So
let me ask you, so is there a way to form new rivalries? Like can A&T and Elon be rivals now? Because
they've been A&T and Elon has had higher attendance numbers than A&T Delaware State, A&T Morgan, A&T Howard. So yeah, I think they're fine. We've been playing Elon for years. Like we were playing Elon out of conference for years before we joined the CAA.
And one of the things that in that y'all know I'm always talking about Tuskegee to FCS. Yep. And I'm not Tuskegee to FCS for the SWAC or the MEAC. I'm definitely Tuskegee to FCS from an independent standpoint.
You don't want those problems, bro. You don't want that.
And one of the reasons being, I think that we have a logistical advantage, even though that logistical advantage won't last longer because a lot of the FCS schools in Alabama are looking to go FBS. So you have Jacksonville State dipping out, and UNA, they're in that ASUN WAC merger to possibly go FBS and all the rules that that entails. But I go back and I look at the Tuskegee UNA game. It instantly became a classic. We played twice in the playoffs. Part of that is because of Coach Slater's connection with UA. We had a little drama. I mean, a drama kind of sells. UNA put out that our AD was racist because he wanted us to be segregated. And so that was a big time story, and it kind of fueled the fan bases to really go. And you see, I think we lost by 3 points the first time we played them. Then we turned around and beat them by 3 points the next time we played them. And it's like, so we can create these rivalries with other teams. Of course, I am a little biased, and I do like the HBCU concept. I do like that's like Randall said. I talked about our connection with Grambling, our connections with Hampton. If you go back and look at that Hampton game this season, it's still one of their highest attended games for home games this season. So there is something there. There's still something left to those old rivalries. Even I talk about when Tuskegee and Florida A&M played in Mobile that year. I think that was the HBCU game. I think that was Stephen that wrote that about how many years it had been, if I'm not mistaken. But I ain't mistaken about who else is writing about HBCU football like that. So they talked about it storming all that week. I remember the promoters coming out said that they only did like 10,000 tickets, and they put them on sale, and the 10,000 tickets were gone within like 72 hours of them posting it. So they were like, well, wait, we got to put out 10,000 more. And people still came. In the threat of the storm, I forgot the name of the storm that was supposed to be coming through that weekend, but people really came out. So when I talk about Tuskegee, the FCS, I'm talking about it from the standpoint that because of the Tuskegee brand, because of who our rivalries are, and for us, and the team, and for the alumni bases of the games that they want to see, okay, I think that it would be beneficial to us to make that move. I've argued before, now this is before my time, but just being a historian, I argue that we should have left when A&M left. There's no reason that we should have allowed A&M to leave us in the SIAC, but I won't get on that tonight because that wasn't on the docket to talk about. But
so you wouldn't want that celebration bowl money?
That's what I was about to ask, man. Like that's what I'm trying to understand. Like that.
So, but here's the thing.
Because the other wait before you answer that, because the other thing you got to take into consideration too is that if you go in as an FCS independent, that means you got to have a schedule to get a bid to even make the FCS playoffs, unless you have no interest in that. And if you have no interest in that, you might as well either join the MEAC or SWAC, and the SWAC would make more sense. Or so you get a shot at the celebration bowl money.
So when it comes down to that, the base is kind of split on that. There is a sector of Tuskegee people who want us to go to the MEAC. Very few do I hear say let's go to the SWAC. And I think it's and this is me just saying this. I think that a lot of the Tuskegee base, we feel like we're better than the SWAC. Okay.
What?
And there's a rationale behind that. I mean, we have beaten the SWAC pretty convincingly over the years. I mean, these last couple of 3 or 4 years, we've kind of taken our lumps and bruises when we play them. But for the most part,
I want to remind you, sir. There's more than one sport.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
What about the others?
Our women's basketball has beaten Bama State. And on Bama State on their good years, even when they were going through running the SWAC at that one time. What's that young lady she got from Bullitt County, Crystal Kidd? So like there is, of course, in baseball we're not competitive, but that's because we give.
They don't have. Well, right now baseball's in the NEC in the MEAC right now, but they would love to have your baseball team because maybe to potentially get baseball back into the MEAC. But Central had to stop their program.
But to the point, before the whole talk about Jacksonville State leaving and UNA leaving, we had the unique opportunity to basically have a schedule in state with a lot of these schools. And so when people get to talking about us jump to the SWAC or jump to the MEAC, I understand, like people say the media money, the Celebration Bowl money. But this conversation about Tuskegee going FCS was being had prior to the Celebration Bowl even existing. So I'm sure like now that commission, they have to take that into consideration. This study has been going on since 2010. That's when they initially began to talk about this. So, and right now it's just talk. I don't know if y'all remember when Coach Ruffin first got there, that was one of the statements that he tweeted out.
Yep.
You haven't heard much more about it because there are some people who just be like, no, we're going to stay right here in the SIAC and tough it out because we are one of the charter members. And even prior to before the big leave, they were trying to convince Tuskegee to leave then, and Tuskegee refused to leave. And I think that there's a good strong segment of people who don't see us leaving. So it's my futuristic talking. I'm going to manifest it. I am manifesting that before as my grandmother say, my head get cold, we will leave the SIAC.
Academically, it was founded at Hampton's campus, and they were there for 90 years. So we'll say that things change.
They do change, man.
But my only thing, and part of me, of course, I'm gonna be the one that defends being in the SIAC. But what is the argument against leaving the SIAC? I mean, would it be bad if Tuskegee stayed? I mean, I don't think it would be bad. I mean,
one of the things is, I can't believe we're having this conversation today. So,
might as well go ahead and get it on out there.
I'm always talking about the brand, and y'all know I'm really big on the Morehouse brand, the Tuskegee brand. And what I'm looking at, if we go back and we really dig through our attendance record, take homecoming out, and we look at our attendance record and we start to say, something is happening. I'm also taking into consideration what's happening in our local community. I talk about this in other spaces where our communities and our schools are tied together. The city of Tuskegee, the county of Macon County, and AD is down there. If he wants to come up, he can come up because he can really talk about this as well. There is a tax that we pay in Tuskegee that has helped cause this exodus of people from the city. And as you continue to see this exodus, when you start talking about game day experiences and what goes on down there, I talk about the impact that COVID had and the lives that COVID took and how that has impacted our attendance. Even at the championship game this year at Benedict, I'm looking at the attendance that Tuskegee had, and I'm saying this is definitely not Tuskegee pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, that guest side would have been filled for Tuskegee. It was like we had a sprinkle, this is the same fan base that we were going to have 7 or 8 charter buses that was going to travel to these places. So to see where it was, kind of falling off, even looking at the attendance because we had to play a couple of home games in Montgomery this year, just looking at it and saying to yourself like, we might need to really take a look at this. Well, what are the games that people want to see? People want to see Tuskegee play Alabama A&M. Just point blank. You cannot convince some Tuskegee people that we're not supposed to play Alabama A&M and beat them. You can't convince some Tuskegee people we're not supposed to play Alabama State and beat them. They don't care about the Division II status. They don't care. I've been telling people for years, like, hey, that stadium that Alabama State built, they're positioning themselves to be a for real FCS team. And if we don't do something, if we continue to talk about we want to play them and beat them, we're gonna have to step up our game. And that's part of the reason why I say it's time for us to move on, because all of our traditional rivals are gone except Morehouse. And clearly Morehouse has proven that they don't care. And so we can't wait around on them to come to par.
I think what you got to do, man, because I know at one point MEAC, I don't understand. The MEAC had a chance to pretty much take over Georgia, and they just never did it. They could have took Georgia. I know they tried with Savannah State, but they could have had a chance to go get Morehouse, Clark. Maybe could have swiped y'all too if y'all really wanted to go up that bad, and could have had a stronger conference.
I argue that it should be a double deal with Tuskegee and Morehouse. If our institutions would leverage that, right?
If the presidents would get together and come up with a strategic plan, it could be great for both institutions. But one thing that you're gonna have to do is, if you go on D1, you better, or FCS, you got to make sure that you can fund your teams and be able to give your coaches everything that they need to be successful.
And Morehouse is going to have to put a level of investment on that, from what I understand, based on what I've been hearing. So,
if you from somebody whose school tried this, and I was in school when it happened, and I kind of watched the entire situation. I wrote a story about it a couple years ago on HBCU Game Day about WSSU's attempted to move to Division I. And Dave's current chancellor was the chancellor over at Winston-Salem State at that time when I was there. And, he had this grand idea to move Winston-Salem State into Division I. He, got provisionally accepted to the MEAC. He's a Winston native, but he went to that school over there in Greensboro. So, he kind of wanted to put us on the same footing as them. But the only thing about it was, the finances. WSSU and A&T were close in proximity, but we're traditionally a teacher school. We had about our student population hovered around 2,000 for most of our history until Chancellor Martin got there. Whereas A&T, obviously, they're engineering, agricultural, so they've always been bigger than us, and they've had some infrastructure that we haven't had. And so, we decided we're going to pull out on this move, and the legendary Big House Gaines, rest his soul. He told he was against it because he just felt like the funding and facilities weren't there. And, his famous quote was, "You can't bring a jackass to the Kentucky Derby." And, God rest his soul. 18 years later, he ended up being correct because, Martin got the move pushed through and it got started. And then by the time he left, he left right before the move actually really got into motion. So, we're playing in a football stadium at Bowman Gray that we don't own. We had an opportunity to own, but the school did not take that opportunity at that time under his leadership. And so we're renting a football stadium. We have our gym now, which is a CE Gaines Center, which holds about 2,600 people now. And it was a gym that was too small for us even when it was built. So we've always had to go and take our games and play across the street at the Coliseum at Wake Forest. And now, so basically we were renting a football stadium, and then because we were trying to go to Division I, we were also renting a basketball facility. So the question is, where is money coming in? And the answer was nowhere. And so, he's gone. We have to step back from that move. And, it was just a lot of things that were around it. So, I think the things for Tuskegee, if you can figure out a way to get your alumni behind it, I feel like you got to have some type of a capital campaign to really do the funding for it. You got to have, facilities that you can actually make money off of. That helps. There's a lot of things that go into it because we were kind of in the same situation that D2 that you're saying with Tuskegee. I mean, obviously A&T was there, and then of course Central followed right after us, and they were able to make the move. And schools like that, again, that I was talking about, were as traditional rivals, just all around. We don't have the money to hang with them. And then the schools that are in the CIAA, I will be honest, we have a little bit of we have a little bit of I don't know how you would call it, people feel a certain type of way about us when we step in the room or whatever. But it's always feels good to be up there with those schools that you feel like are peer institutions and schools, but you really have to have your stuff together and your ducks in a row to get there financially. So hopefully you guys are in better shape to do it if you decide to do it, and you really take a case study from what happened at WSSU, as well as some of the schools that have moved up that were able to do it successfully.
Yeah, Savannah State's an interesting one too, because they stayed a little longer than you guys, and Central's been able to stay up there, so which has been good.
I'll say this: whatever the data says, that's what I'm gonna go for. I'm not gonna stop rooting for it, but whatever the data says, that's my ultimate belief. If the data say we need to stay where we are and stay put, I'm for staying put.
Well, for me, I'm a manifest. The data says you stay put. Okay, manifest.
I want to address this with what Doc said. So Albany State, a Tuskegee rival, is not Tuskegee rival in football. Yes, and for me, they are. I think I almost want to say that Whitewater Classic kind of washed up that rivalry. It just kind of came dead. So I'm almost believing that it was something when we were going to back and forth to each other. When we went to the divisions, we went a couple years where we didn't play each other. And then we didn't make it to the SIAC championship game. Like if Miles happened to win, or that godforsaken year Kentucky State and Fort Valley won.
Oh my God.
we missed playing each other. And I think that was one of those games. It was like, no, I think that needs to be home and home, because those were good games. Like we were the two big dogs in the conference. You know, and I hate that the years that we didn't play each other, it kind of faded away, and then we created this new rivalry with Miles. That came out of the circumstances, and so it's like, hey, can that rivalry be revitalized, rejuvenated? I just don't think we're gonna play each other enough to see that rivalry how it was come back. Especially now that I think the rivalry still exists with Miles, and then hey, we got that new rivalry brewing with those Panthers, even though they not competition, but
What do you? I would like to submit a school into the argument. Okay, do you think? And I want you to hear me out, but before you answer, do you think that Fort Valley is a rival? Because when I look at the numbers, okay, 55 games played, y'all won 32. 31. We won 22 and 2 ties. So Fort Valley as a rival, we won the past 2, Red Tails Classics. Fort Valley are we a rival? Rival adjacent in the same neighborhood? We know.
Back when, like we talked about on your podcast, back in the day when Fort Valley was considered the comeback kids, I told you I've seen fights. If anybody been to Tuskegee, there was a man. He's older than me, but I grew up watching him go to the games. They called him Horn. He worked at the Calhoun Foods, but he was Jonathan Horn. That's it. He was like a Tuskegee fan. He would be coaching Super in the stands. And I'll never forget the year that Fort Valley came, the Tuskegee, and it was a Fort Valley fan that just kept messing with him. And the fan was like, y'all better leave him alone because hey, if he go off. And that was like my first collegiate fight breaking out in the stand was watching that. And that's like one of my maybe this shouldn't be a fondest memory, but it was one of my fondest memories of seeing the impact. Fighting wasn't what it is now. Fighting now could cause you to lose your life. Okay.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, after the fight, a good fight, they'll shake hands and like, hey, see y'all the next time we play. So there was a thing. I don't know if I want to interject this, and maybe I could be wrong about this, so don't tear me up about this, y'all. This is just my opinion. I think Tuskegee went through a period where we were just so dominant in the conference. Nobody in this conference was a rival to us.
Then that makes everybody want to beat you. Like that's how that goes.
Yeah.
Can somebody point me to when that time was?
There you go.
I've been trying to stay on the sidelines, but I've been keeping up with Albany State since the late 70s, early 80s. So you talking about five conference championships in the 80s, 5 in the 90s, 5 straight in the 2000s. I mean.
Hey, but Doc,
now those are division championships, not conference championships.
Before these last 2 or 3 down years with Slater, when Slater like 1-8 against Albany State, y'all beat us one time.
Wait, can I say this too? Historically, Tuskegee's 25-21 with 1 tie, so it's really close. It's really
That's
close.
what I'm saying. That's
all. They don't ran off 3. We done had 3 bad years. They done ran off 3 L's to us.
The records matter. The records matter too.
Records matter. I want to say it was like 84, 83 to like 88. Albany State won the conference 93 through 98. They won again in 2003 to 2007. It's like 5 straight.
And let me talk about, and I'm so glad you brought that up. Because when people bring up the Cummings era, I'm always telling people that a lot of times, because when we talk about the Pioneer Bowl and those things, and people say, well, Tuskegee won the conference. Tuskegee had an Albany State problem under Cummings. We could not get over the hump with Mike White. Like, that's the one game that people fail to look at. Cummings had a hard time beating Mike White. I think he only beat Albany State once or twice when he was at Tuskegee. Yep. And that has to be noted. So that goes back to the conversation. Albany State has always been in the conversation. It's just those years, Doc, that y'all couldn't beat us in the SIAC championship game, and clearly couldn't beat Miles either. You know.
Yeah, I would say from about 2000, and really and truthfully, it was the Gardenia era. I'm just gonna keep it real. To me, it's the end of White. It was the end of White's era. You know what I'm saying? I think he won one in 2010, and then he won in 2013. He finally beat Miles in 2013. And then I think Gardenia came in about 15, and it took him a while. Yeah, I agree.
No. He came in 17. He came in 17.
17. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I just don't want you to give too much recency bias to it now. I go back in the conference now. So.
Y'all were a close second. Okay.
Oh.
A close second. But listen, nobody was doing what Tuskegee was doing. We was coming in, and even the years that we would lose to Albany State, we would still go there and drag the SWAC. And I'm being funny, starting a little miss. I see Dr. Cavill is in. We would go in and drag the SWAC. You know, that year that Tuskegee made those shirts, that we were the SWAC. We didn't even win our own conference, but we were the SWAC.
Yeah, they were the SWAC champions.
We beat Texas Southern and Alabama State that year, the two teams that were in the SWAC championship game. And then Texas Southern found out that they wasn't doing things by the book, so we beat them while they were cheating still. So hey, we really, we were feeling ourselves, at one point in time.
The sad thing about it, the reason I ain't jump in there, because you telling the truth. Ain't no lie.
Hey, man. Hey.
But yeah, man, that was but I guess to bring that part of the conversation home, it's a lot. I think it's a lot of work for all our institutions. It goes back to our institutions are more than athletics, and I think we all can agree to that. Athletics is fun. We love it, and we hope to see it grow and prosper at all our institutions. We talk a little trash amongst ourselves, but ultimately we want the overall mission of the university to be the forefront. And if going to FCS would hinder Tuskegee in any kind of way, I would absolutely not be for it. But hey, if the numbers go and we can do it, we can go tomorrow if we want to. I'm ready to go in those SWAC spaces and talk some trash.
Oh boy. Boy.
Here's the problem with Tuskegee going FCS, and I came in a little bit late on the conversation. Until Tuskegee fully funds the scholarships that they already have for their athletes there, and they improve their facilities, it really doesn't need to be in the conversation until they get on the capital campaign to be able to do it.
Capital campaign, yes.
Yes, I want
everybody's gonna be using them words. A&T's working on one right now.
Hey, look, this right here is what's funny. And they really don't broadcast it, but Morehouse has been on a capital campaign since the president took over 17, 18, Dr. Thomas. He wanted to raise $500 million. He's at like $445 million already.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's there. When they do the giving day in December, their alumni, the teachers, whoever, they always get about $1.5 million every December. But that's his big thing. When he took the president's job, he wanted to do a capital campaign for $500 million. They're already about $445. Now I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
I can give you a clue. It ain't gonna have nothing to do with athletics.
It needs to. I know they want to buy up some of the area. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because A&T did one and they exceeded it. And they announced that they're going to do another one that's just specifically for athletics for between $80 and $100 million. So if he didn't mention athletics within their capital campaign when he first thought about he wanted $500 million, and they ain't gonna have athletics in it. It's gonna be, but that's not a bad thing. The academic buildings, the facilities, resources for the students. That's not a bad thing either, right? Yeah, it is an academic institution first, but just if it ain't mentioned in there, it ain't probably in there for it.
Yeah, one of the things that I heard that they want to do, they want to buy up some of the land around the school and build some new buildings. I did hear that. I know that they also were saying that they was going to upgrade the football field and the football facility, but the Honey Badger project stepped in and done that. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do with it, but I thought it was real impressive for them to have damn near 450 millions raised in roughly 5 years.
And I know when Dr. Roshan was the president of Tuskegee, he wanted to kick off a $250 million campaign, but of course he wasn't there long enough to see that part through, and we've gone through three presidents since then. So it's a lot. I am
just saying we've gone through almost as many presidents since Peyton left as we had before Peyton got there. Just go ahead and say it.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And but we're happy to have Dr. Morris. Like one of those things. I think she was what everybody was like. Listen, let's just stable the ship, okay? And I think that's what everybody wanted, was somebody to come in and stable the ship. So we're happy to have Dr. Morris. And I think, I know, like, coming out of COVID, when she made the announcement that we were totally debt-free, that was a big relief, because we had a couple of administrations that had done some things that that had kind of, burdened us down. And so just to see life come back to the university, is really big. And so I'll say this again. If going FCS would jeopardize that in any way, I would not be for it. And my tweets are just wishful thinking at this moment until we see more data come out.
Can I say something about the students at Tuskegee right now?
Go ahead.
I want you got to think about this. If you are a junior at Tuskegee, you have not had a full football experience at that university.
Yep.
And that's going to be something that's going to impact us down the line. You got to think about it. If you those juniors, when they came in their freshman year, there was no football due to COVID. In their sophomore year, the team played football, but no fans were allowed in the stadium. This year, you were doing upgrades to the stadium, and you only had one game. All the home games were held in Montgomery. These kids will be seniors before they have their first true football experience. And if you think about your normal matriculation through college, those first couple of years, that's when you have all the fun. That's when you do all the stuff. By the time you get to be a senior, you really focusing on academics and making your path to get out of whatever institution you're at. So we're going to have a whole generation of Tuskegeans who really haven't had that full experience because of these last 3 years at the university. Nobody's fault. Just the fact that I wanted to throw out there.
And we kind of hit on that earlier, and I guess I get your opinion on this. I'm always talking about looking at, and especially in these rural areas and the age group of the Tuskegee faithful that come out to those Tuskegee games. When I looked around this particular season, I go back in our group chats and our Tuskegee alumni groups, and I think about all the lives that were lost, and every time I'd be like, dang, I will always see them at the football game. I will always see them, like these couples where maybe the wife died or maybe the husband died. And so now these people, if you lose one, normally you lose both of them, because if they would come to the game as a couple, they're not coming now. And so it's like one of those things that I'm watching, because I looked at our attendance and I looked at how we traveled to the championship game, and I was a little bit concerned about what is Tuskegee football, what is the Tuskegee fan base going to look like with what you said and with the impact of that COVID had on our fan base. And so I'm really looking towards next season. I think I can get a clearer view, but I think that's definitely going to be something worth stating. And we got to plan for that.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't experience the shed at homecoming. You have to experience the shed at a regular game because homecoming is such a unique dynamic in and of itself, and that's the only experience a lot of those people have. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what this generation of students, how they ultimately feel about the Tuskegee experience. And I see Dr. Faison on here. You know, I'm just curious on whether these students will even give back at the level that the old school alumni have given back, because they may not have enjoyed their experience or had that full experience that we went to that HBCU for. Because, you know, the shed, the Ave, and some of the other stuff that we experienced at Tuskegee, the Soul Inn, all that stuff, this generation has missed it, point blank.
I mean, can you imagine no soul, no coop? No shed? Man, that really hurt my. Listen, y'all don't know what I go through to know that there is no coop. The coop is a place, chicken joint in Tuskegee. Yeah, you know, it used to be called Thomas Reed Chicken Coop, the Chicken House, okay? And then the branch off of it, the Coop. The Coop was the place you go out. You go to Soul Inn, you have a good time. You go get that $5 wing special from the Coop. You go there, they're going to fill up with seasoning salt. That grease going to sober you up. You're going to be able to drive home and have a good time. Everybody be all right. The Coop is closed. Soul Inn is gone. There, to me, hats off to the Tuskegee students that stay, because I don't know if I could have matriculated through Tuskegee University with no coop and no soap. Okay, that's just me. And so I think all those things, you know, you just make a valid point. And I think a lot of our institutions are going to have to look at that going forward. Those unique things, and how do we bring back that morale? I mean, because another thing on top of that was Tuskegee was going through a lot of renovation. All our students were living in Auburn. The students was complaining about that all the time. So bringing the students back on campus, that was a big thing that also aided into what some of the students would call a low morale around.
And then all the local businesses are closing. You know, even the franchise businesses are closing in that town.
Yeah,
I moved away from there a few years ago, and every time I go back, I'm like, wow, they closed now? Jesus.
And I'm moving. And the crazy part about it is, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get into Texas Southern football, because next month I'll be moving to Houston. So I gotta get into HBCU football in Texas. So
we'll pray for you.
Dr. Cavill showed this young man the right way now. Prairie View showed the right way, Dr. Cavill.
Prairie View, yes. Texas Southern, we'll pray for you.
Well, yeah.
We got you. You come on down here, Texas Southern, Prairie View. We'll show you the Texas spirit. A lot of good football. We'll mix in a little bit of high school so you can get it all that you need. Be ready, prepared. And then the thing is, you do have what's good about Houston, you get teams come in there and they always bring a lot of alumni out, because a lot of alumni live in Houston. So the atmosphere is usually good at the games. But in a lot of ways, when you talk to Texas Southern, where you're really going to get your bang for the buck is going to be on the basketball side. So that's the thing, that the benefit that you get in Texas is you got Prairie View football, a little more dynamic, but TSU is going to bring you a basketball center that you won't get. So you get your mix of both worlds.
That's what's up. I'm not sure how I'm going to manage, maybe possibly going through a season of maybe only seeing 2 or 3 Tuskegee games. So y'all definitely pray for you, boy. It's going to be some new. I can probably count on my hand how many Tuskegee games I mixed just on purpose. So that's gonna be new, but it's 9. I think we had a great discussion tonight. I'm gonna let y'all go through, get y'all final thoughts. Keep watch out. Shout outs to our coaches, all the coaches that came through. Man, they are killing it on the recruiting side. Albany State is definitely killing the recruiting game right now. You look at those guys they're bringing in. I think Benedict bringing in some strong guys. Tuskegee has some strong guys. Those schools, Edward Waters, Allen, Clark, I see them. Those coaches are fighting. I mean, I go through and I look at the guys they offer, and I look at who they're offering against. The SIAC is in a battle with the GSC for players. I mean, if they have one SIAC offer, they got 5 GSC offers from schools. So I'm really looking at. I'm trying to get together a little ranking, a little chart to try to bring us some more. Because if we don't do it for ourselves, nobody's gonna do it for us. To just kind of rank our classes, amongst ourselves. And I just want to tell the coaches, I mean, I see y'all out there, and just keep supporting your institution. Giving campaigns. Tuskegee has a new little giving network on the website now, where you can see all of the campaigns that they have going on right now. Right now, they got the school board campaign, they got the new instrument campaign for the band, and a couple more campaigns for some other things around campus. So definitely keep up with that, and see. I'm here to tell you, I have a rule. If I watch your game, whether it's free on HBCU League Pass Plus or wherever I watch it from, I'm going to send that school, and I've done it throughout the year, I'm going to send that school the price of a ticket. That's just me. A little here helps out a whole lot. So continue to support your institution. Continue to support this space as we grow it. We plan on doing a band night space. We plan on doing a NIL deal space. We got a couple of NIL companies that are in the conference. So getting a representative out, because I think a lot of our fan bases, they just don't know about NIL, like they don't understand it. So just continue to rock with us as we do it. We'll get it right sooner or later.
Hey, so
just want to say, once you put that together, let me know. We'll bring you on the lab. Make sure you can break it down for everybody out there. We want to make sure we do the space and give space as we continue to show love for the SIAC as well as CIAA. Oftentimes we we'll talk, make sure we bring in Stephen Gaither. He does it for D2, CIAA. Obviously, AD brings some stuff in for SIAC. But we'll give you space and make sure that you can do your thing over there as well.
Appreciate that, Dr. Kavir.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll lead off, the outros. I want to say, because this is our first space of 2023. Of course, we have a radio show on SiriusXM, HBCU Pulse Radio, Fridays, 5 p.m. on SiriusXM channel 142. D2 HBCU football is going to be on the show on this week. We're talking about the CIAA and the SIAC. I did a nice segment about Jada Byers and his great game against Valdosta, and how to me that really woke me up on him. And then me and D2, we give some controversial takes about the SIAC. And I know y'all want to hear it, especially Coach Thomas. I know Coach Thomas want to hear this. Yeah, he want to hear this. So I need y'all to. This might be the best one out of the 4 shows we've done. So I need y'all to tune in Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. Podcast comes out the next day, and I appreciate D2 for coming on. Also, y'all know where to follow us: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that. Make sure to tap in with us. The HBCU Pulse, and also HBCU League Pass Plus, channel 201.
So hey, I'm not on the radio like Randall, but we do have a couple spaces that we do for HBCU Nightly. So follow HBCU Nightly on Twitter so you'll know when it goes live. We're gonna start back up our Monday night, so we're gonna go live on Monday nights on Twitter Spaces at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central, and we go every Monday at 9 p.m. and every Wednesday at 9 p.m. We go through to midnight, and we also have HBCU Nightly curated on the AMP app, where we pretty much talk about music back in our times when we were at our respective HBCUs and have conversations to catch up on some of the news that we missed at the beginning of the week. So come join us during the week, guys.
Definitely a great space. Looking forward to the next space that we do. Shout out to HBCU Pulse. Man, Randall, you're doing a great job with it.
Appreciate it, man.
I just hope that it just continue to flourish. D2, it's good talking with you guys tonight. It was good talking with the transfer portal people. It was good talking with the coaches. And like I said, again, look forward to continuing the SIAC space.
I'll go next. AD Drew, Black College Sports Network. Got a podcast. Come on. Matter of fact, just got off the podcast right before I came on this space. BCSN Sports Rap with Brian Fulford and myself each and every Sunday night on the Black College Sports Network. On YouTube, there's my JBN and the number 1. I'm also the writer for D2Football.com for the SIAC. So, coaches, if you got some newsworthy stories that you need to get out, you can hit me up. You can contact me, message me, and send me the story, and I'll make sure it gets up to D2Football.com for the SIAC. Also, frequent guest on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab each and every Tuesday and Thursday night, also on the Black College Sports Network. And you can catch me doing the game somewhere, be it football, be it basketball, be it whatever. You can usually catch me doing the game somewhere, preferably in the SIAC.
It's your boy Kelly Flicks, man. I appreciate D2 and Randall, man, and Coach, everybody having me on here for this week. I really appreciate it. It was a great SIAC discussion. I was really appreciative. We got to speak to some guys out of Kentucky State. That was really fun to speak about. And I do my weekly recruiting rankings on here on Twitter, Instagram, Kelly Flicks, recruiting rankings on HBCU football. Also, I give different takes on Instagram in collaboration with HBCU Red Zone on Instagram. And on Mondays and Tuesdays, I have a podcast, Lace Up Podcast. Goes out on Twitch and all available DSPs. So thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Doc, you got something you want to close us out with?
Oh, I just appreciate the space, D2. It's good to come on and have an opportunity just to listen to you guys and talk some good SAC, black college football and basketball and sports. And so you all just keep up the great work and hope everyone has a great week.
All right, that'll do it. Listen, y'all be on the lookout. We may have a coach at Morehouse by the end of the week. We may. Who knows, but we may have a coach at Morehouse by the end of the week. If we do, I'm going to celebrate it. Also, man, just search Kentucky State. Keep Kentucky State in your prayers. All our HBCUs, when one of us hurt, we all should hurt in a sense. You know, Kentucky State, like early in the show, we had some of their players up, and just some of the struggles that they're going through at Kentucky State, and it could easily be any of our institutions at the blink of an eye. So it's just one of those schools, and I'm praying. I hope that they get it together. I hope that they're able to survive this, because that's the thing. When we talk about HBCU, we always talk about how resilient we are. The truth of the matter is not all of them have survived what they've gone through, and it could very well happen. I will say this again, that vote to close them was very slim, and we've had an election since then. So it's one of those things that we have to watch out for, be vigilant, and they're one of ours. And so we all owe it to ourselves and what HBCU stand for, to stand with our brothers and sisters over at Kentucky State and what they're going through. And just also, if you see Kentucky State alone too, hey, you know what's going on at your university? I mean, that's one of my things I've been doing. Is like, hey, you might need to go check that out. So definitely keep them and you understand, and just keep a watchful eye out at what's going on. And if you got a few pennies, you can send them a few pennies. That don't never hurt anybody. But I appreciate everybody for coming out to the space. Just more to come.
Yeah, y'all keep Bethune-Cookman University in your prayers as well. I don't want to cast an opinion one way or the other, but just please uplift that university. It's one of our sister institutions here in the state of Florida. And so just keep that entire university, its leadership, its students, its board, its faculty, staff, that whole Daytona community. Just keep all of them uplifted in your prayers.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. Hey,
Absolutely.
we stand with Bethune-Cookman for real. Students, all that. Stand with Bethune.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great night now. Oh, well, did everybody speak? No. Damon, you want to close us out?
Hey man, everybody, hey, thank you for having me. I enjoy this time. Away from my wife and kids. just a little 2 hours on Sunday. Hey man, but I'm looking forward to seeing if Morehouse is going to announce their coach on Friday. I hope that they do, just for those kids' sakes. And I'm just, I hope that they do. And everybody just have a good week. And see you next week if D2 have the space.
Yeah, we're going to get more back consistent with them. We were just taking a little break. I'm just in the process. I was going through jobs. I'm in grad school, and so that's been kicking me down and just trying to change jobs. I almost took a job with another conference that was going to force me to stop talking about SIAC football so publicly. But I passed on that, and God opened another door for me, so I'm really excited about that. So just keep me praying, keep me in your prayers, and we're going to do it with Randall or Coach Thomas or any one of y'all. It just don't have to be this page, and I want to see the SIAC talk flourish, and I just want to see us build, a SIC community, because regardless of what anybody think, we play a good brand of football. We have great institutions right here in the SIAC, and I think we have great leadership now, and I think the sky is the limit to what the SIAC can become. And with that, I want you all to have a great night. See you later.
You're locked into HBCU Post Radio. Baby, what you wanna do? HBCU Post Radio is your number one source for news, information, and discussions about HBCU life and culture. From sports to politics and what's trending on yours. We're always at the heart of the culture. You don't want to miss this. Tune into HBCU Post Radio every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central on SiriusXM Channel 142 HBCU. Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to hbcupulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.